Now I would request Dr. M.S. Bhatia sir, Chief Coordinator of this FDP, to address the theme of this FDP.
Hello, Bhatia sir.
हॅलो भाटिया सर, तुमचा आवाज येत नाहीये.
भाटिया सर म्यूट आहात तुम्ही.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, sir.
A very good morning to all participants. I am Dr. Manish Bhatia, coordinator of this FDP, professor and head of the pharmaceutical chemistry department and vice principal at Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy, Kolhapur. On behalf of team BBCPK, it's my pleasure to welcome all enthusiastic participants. A very good morning to one and all. I feel that all participants must be aspiring to explore this thrust and emerging area of artificial intelligence with respect to its utility in pharmaceutical sciences, and particularly the pharmacokinetic aspects of drug development and drug utilization. Artificial intelligence, though is just simulation of human intelligence in machines, it involves handling huge data and analyzing it to get targeted outcomes. This would involve intelligent algorithms which require good domain experts and programmers working together, thus creating opportunity for diverse set of subject experts. Experts from the complete artificial intelligence spectrum of activities related to drug development, right from new chemical entity research to clinical research, are invited to share their experiences with all of us. Over the past decades, the role of artificial intelligence based tools in chemical and biological data mining, cum analysis for drug development has grown rapidly. Development of drugs, its products, and therapy utilizing optimum resources will soon become a reality with modern artificial intelligence tools. Moreover, though quantum computing is not easily accessible today, looking at the pace of technical developments, it won't be long before we reach a point where every lab will have a quantum computer and will thus improve the speed and economy of all drug development processes and thus affect the net outcome of our work. Thus, understanding what could be its impact is very essential. Further improvement in quality of artificial intelligence tools and the speed factor getting a quantum leap with quantum computing will make parallel processing and the synchronized analysis of various physical, physicochemical, biochemical, and physiological processes a practical reality. Thus, let's pledge together to get involved in keeping up with time and play our role as key domain experts to build and utilize available artificial intelligence tools to contribute our professional share to nation building. Our team at this college has tried to contribute its best to the AICT initiatives for development of faculty through the Atal Academy. Hope all of us have a fulfilling experience through lots of intelligent knowledge sharing interactions over the next 5 days of this FDP. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for addressing the theme of this FDP. Now, moving towards our very first session, it will be my honor to introduce our today's first speaker, Dr. Prashant Murumkar, sir. He is currently working as an assistant professor, DY Director, Office of Alumni Affairs, and Senate member, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, Vadodara. Sir has qualified B.Pharm and M.Pharm from the North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon, postgraduate diploma from National Academy of Legal Studies and Research University, Hyderabad, and PhD in pharmacy from the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Sir is having the academic experience of 14 years and is research expertise in 3D QSAR, COMSIA, docking, pharmacophore, virtual screening and homology modeling, structure and ligand-based drug of some novel enzyme inhibitors, synthesis of various novel enzyme inhibitors, expertise in hit-to-lead identification approach. Also, he is having the research experience in visiting scientists at Karolinska Institute Division of the Translational Alzheimer Neurobiology, Sweden in 2017, visiting researcher at the Utah University, Salt Lake City, USA in 2009. He has more than 50 international publications with 1100 citations and H-index 21. He has been granted 2 patents and 1 is applied, out of which also sir has received the awards for the Indian Council of Medical Research International Fellowship for the Indian Biomedical Scientist Young Category 2016 and 17 award, Young Scientist Travel Grant from the DST to attend the 235th American Chemical Society National Meeting in New Orleans, USA in 2008, National Doctoral Fellow in by AICT 2006, and many more. So we would like to welcome a very young and enthusiastic researcher, Dr. Prashant Murumkar, for this FDP and deliver a talk on demystifying the role of artificial intelligence in drug discovery. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for such a nice words. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
At the outset, I take this opportunity to congratulate principal of this prestigious college, Kolhapur Pharmacy College, all the teaching faculty members for organizing this EFDP. All the participants, good morning one and all. In fact, before starting my presentation, I would like to mention one thing that I have visited Kolhapur, but I didn't get chance to physically visit pharmacy college in Kolhapur. Many times I have been to Pune, Bharati Vidyapit Pharmacy College, but I didn't get chance to visit Kolhapur Pharmacy College. But I think this is an opportunity to interact with you. Although this is EFDP, I feel I am there in Kolhapur and I'm delivering the lecture. So with these words, I'm thankful to Dr. Bhatia, who has invited me to be one of the speaker in this FDP program, which has been organized by this College of Pharmacy, Kolhapur. And the title, which this FDP is exploring pharmacokinetics with artificial intelligence and quantum computing. He asked me that you have to deliver a talk and give me a slot. So I thought this is an opportunity for me to interact all the participants. So I thought I should start batting as an opener, because there is a lot of opportunities are there. You can touch upon all the aspects which are there. And that's why I decided that I will start my talk as an opening batsman. So before starting, again, I need to share my screen. Let me confirm whether the screen is visible to you. I hope screen is visible to you, everybody.
Yes, yes, sir.
The title is Demystifying a Role of Artificial Intelligence in Drug Discovery. In fact, before starting my talk on this topic, I would like to introduce my university. I'm from Maharaja Sahaja University of Baroda, and we are having 14 faculty. The Faculty of Pharmacy is one of the faculty. The iconic dome, you can see the picture here. This is the second largest dome in Asia. In fact, as far as establishment of this university is there, it goes as a Baroda College, which was established in 1881. And in fact, it became a university in 1949. Whatever picture you can see here, downside, it is a Lakshmi Vilas Palace. And this is the residence of our chancellor. This university actually chancellor is from the Gaikwad family. And this is,
Hello,
she is a
Prashant
student.
sir.
Yes.
Hello, Prashant sir. Sorry to interrupt you. Sir, please make a slideshow mode.
Okay, it is not there, but because I can.
You can see window, but it's not in the slideshow mode.
Okay, just I need to. Now can you see? Now is it okay?
Yes, sir.
It's coming. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So she is a chancellor of our university, Shubhangi Raje Gaikwad, because our university has a chancellor from Gaikwad family. As far as the alumni are there, we have got renowned alumni. Acharya Vinoba Bhave, Dada Saheb Phalke is our alumni. And I'm happy to tell you that Ajay Bhatt, you must be knowing that whatever pen drive we are using right now, this has been invented by Ajay Bhatt. He was a student in 1980, pass out batch from electrical department of our Faculty of Technology. And in fact, fortunately, still we have been in contact because I'm acting as a Deputy Director of Alumni Affairs, and he is one of the key members who has started the mentorship program. Under his mentorship program, we are regularly inviting him to have a regular interaction with the current students also. Then another, the renowned person is Venki Ramakrishna. You must have heard he has got the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2009 for his invention related with the structure of ribosome. And he is a president of Royal Society, as well as also head a Royal Society COVID-19 expert virus panel in UK. And he is our renowned alumni. Why I'm mentioning here, because we are going to talk about artificial intelligence. There are some alumni whose background was something different, but they did their career in different field, and they're successful. I'm going to correlate. That's why I'm showing this slide. This Ajay Bhatt was working in Intel. Venki Ramakrishna, did his graduation from the science here, and then he went to achieve the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Again, another thing I would like to give to the audience also that Baroda Royal State Scholarship was granted by Sayajirao Gaikwad III to the Baba Saheb Ambedkar in 1990. In fact, because of this scholarship, which helped him to pursue his higher education in Columbia University. And that's why actually this MS University is quite known to everybody. Now, going to our main topic. Before starting my presentation, I need to disclose the disclosure here that the presentation is for educational purpose only. There is no other purpose. There is no commercial purpose. So whatever references or whatever slides I have taken are taken from the literature, and I'm not claiming that these are all mine, but definitely this is for educational purpose. Now, coming to the topic, I have shown certain the Explorer here, like Internet Explorer is there, Chrome is there, Firefox is there, Safari is there, Opera is there. My question to everybody is that looking towards the slide, we have seen that there is a revolution because we have started working with the internet by using Internet Explorer. But now if I asked that how many of you are using Internet Explorer, I think few people will be saying yes, that we are using still Internet Explorer, because majority of people, they are using Chrome, which has been developed by the Google. And again, the reason is that since this is quite easy to operate, if you write certain things, they will suggest you, it will suggest you that what kind of things you are looking forward, and there will be different options which would be there, and your data would be synchronized across all the computers. And that's why I think people are using this Chrome. So in fact, if you see who has developed this Chrome, Sundar Pichai, a student who did his graduation from IIT Kharagpur in metallurgical engineering. Then he shifted to US to get his master's degree, MS, from Stanford, again in metallurgical science. And then he was thinking about to do a PhD, but he could not. I think he was not interested, and he joined Wharton, the University of Pennsylvania, for doing his MBA. And then in the year 2004, he joined Google. Before that, he was working somewhere, but in Google, he joined and he was given a task that there would be a toolbar which would be developed for the Google. And he had an argument with his then CEO that we should concentrate on developing our own Internet Explorer. And that time, actually, the CEO of Google, he refused because he was thinking that Google is a small company to invest for such a big project. But Sundar Pichai, he could not stop himself, and he joined, although he joined in 2004, he convinced other people and he worked on that, and in 2008, Google Chrome was there. Now, this was the cross-platform web browser which was developed by the Google, and it was released in 2008 for Microsoft Windows. Now, you must be wondering that why I'm talking about this. I'm talking because if you see the development which has been taken place as far as this browser is there, you will find that here artificial intelligence is used. Again, the moment you type on the Google, you will find that there will be different suggestions which are coming to you. Now, how these suggestions are coming, how the Google knows that what the person is looking for. So this is again a question that whether artificial intelligence is also there. Yes, artificial intelligence is also there. That means knowingly or unknowingly, we have been using this artificial intelligence in day-to-day activities. Not only in day-to-day activities, but there are certain inventions which has been claimed that they are because of the artificial intelligence. You can see that Tesla, the driverless car, self-driving car, this dream was possible because of the artificial intelligence. And it has been confessed by the officials of the Tesla also that yes, they have developed, they have deployed automatic working scale in the vehicle, and they believe that this approach would be successful so that there would be a launch of the self or fully self-driving car, and that has been done. Now, how this has been done? You will find that there are two different chips which has been used, and very systematically, very judiciously, they have considered that these two chips are supporting it for better road performance. You will find that this car will not get or is not in position to get the help or assistance from anybody, and it will take its own decisions. How? With the help of these chips, which is working on the basis of artificial intelligence. Now you will find that there is again logic to have two different chips. One chip can get certain information which cannot be 100% matched with the another chip. If there is no matching with both the informations, then there would not be input which would be provided, and there won't be any decision which would be taken. So that's why you will find that each of these AI chips makes different or separate assessment of the traffic situations. And this assessment is helpful to guide the car accordingly. Now what happens that after assessment of both the chips, then both will be matched by the system, and then it will follow so that there will be input from both is same, and then only decision will be taken. Again, we are knowingly or unknowingly, we are going towards the in-depth analysis of the AI because we know that everybody is using it. Now, since we are pharmacy people, we are having also a doubt in our mind that we are talking about artificial intelligence. We have seen different applications also. And to get the attention, I have given this Tesla because everybody talks about Tesla. But you must not be knowing that there are certain people, group of people who are claiming that they have accelerated the drug discovery process for a compound called as DSP-1181. And this is the drug, or this is the molecule which has been used to treat the patient who have got obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. Now, as we are a pharmacist, we know that drug discovery process is quite lengthy process. It takes almost 14 to 15 years. This has been continuously bombarded to us, and it has been observed also. Now, any molecule to cross this preclinical and to enter into clinical, forget about all the stages of the clinical trials. To reach to the clinical trials, to the phase 1, there are certain compounds which took almost 5 years, more than that also, but not less than that. But this artificial intelligence created medicine, which has been known now is DSP-1181, this took less than 12 months to reach to the clinical trials. So I'm not claiming or this, I'm just mentioning you, which has been told or which has been given to the media also, that they are taking this molecule in the clinical trials and they are working on the progress of this molecule. Now again, there will be a question mark that whether this would pass all the hurdles so that it will see the market, because again, this molecule has to cross phase 2 and phase 3, and then only we can see that this molecule would be there. But at least we can see the results of the AI. Now, artificial intelligence, which has been used in the drug discovery of this molecule, was applied by a British startup company, Exscientia, and in collaboration with Japanese pharmaceutical company called as Sumitomo Nippon Pharma. Actually, these both company, they have worked together to come up with this molecule. Now, this is also interesting story. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Exscientia. Majority of you must have not heard about Exscientia. Even there is a Japanese pharmaceutical company, Sumitomo Pharma, that is also not that much popular, because we are knowing as far as drug discovery is considered, we know that top 10 pharma companies and we know everybody. But now there is a question mark why these pharma companies are not coming forward and they are not showing the results. We will talk separately in this section of drug discovery where artificial intelligence would be there and what is the problem with these pharma companies, that we will talk about it. As we have discussed that, yes, there are applications which has been successfully applied, and in day-to-day activities also we have been seeing these applications. And as far as drug discovery is also there, we have seen that there are certain molecules which are also reaching towards the clinical trials, but basically this artificial intelligence is really a new word or it is old one? And what does it mean exactly? What parameters are considered there? And what exact thing is involved so that this artificial intelligence, what is the talk of the every field is making popular. But as far as artificial intelligence term is there, it is not that much new. It is old term. You can see that this artificial intelligence term was used by the John McCarthy. Actually, when he was presenting his work in a conference, and that time, while presenting in 1956, he used the term called as artificial intelligence. So that time, actually, the meaning was same, which we are also considering. So what does it mean by artificial intelligence? Actually, how the definition would be there? I'm not going in detail as far as technical definition is there, but since we are pharmacy people, we should aware about the things that artificial intelligence, this is a not new term, but it was used almost 70, 65 years. And that is nothing but artificial intelligence. It is nothing but the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. That means science and engineering which has been applied to consider the machine which can be intelligent just like the human being. So that's why this is considered as a technique of getting machines to work and behave just like a human being. So you can see here in the picture, you will find that how the evolution of the human being is done. This has been correlated here, but don't consider with the human being, but you can consider this is a robot which has been shown here. So you can see that artificial intelligence can make a mistake, just like what evolution has been done. Like you can see in the first figure, there is no proper walking which has been taken place, but you will find that there is an improvement. Again in the second, again in the third, you can see that in the fourth figure, you will find that actually this robot is trying to catch the same image or trying to catch the same walking path just like the human being. And you will find that finally there is a success. Now you will find that the same thing has been happening here in the artificial intelligence, that we are trying to train the machine. Here don't consider only robot, we need to consider a machine, that we are supplying input. We will talk that how and what type of inputs we need to give so that machine will follow the same thing. And you will find that there is the improvement every time we are giving input to the machine, and finally we are trying to get behavior of this machine just like the human being, and that is what it is expected, and that has been successfully done. Now, as far as use of this artificial intelligence is there, we'll find that this has been not restricted only with robotics. This is one of the aspects, but this has been applied in each and every field now, be it a business analytics, be it a marketing, and in healthcare also, this has been successfully applied. That means there is no specific field which has been remained now where artificial intelligence is not playing important role. So already we know that this artificial intelligence tries to give certain inputs to the machine so that machines should behave just like the human being. But we'll find that this is not the only aspect. We'll find that the theory and development of computer system has to be in such a way that the machine will perform the task normally which is required by the human intelligence. It would be in the form of image recognition, it would be in the form of speech recognition, it would be in the form of decision making, and it would be in the form of translation. Now again, you must have used also, like in the Google there is an option where you can press a button of a mic, just like a mic, where you can start speaking, and it will, although you are using somewhat a problematic language as far as English is there, still it will recognize it and it will type the word. But you start speaking Hindi or Marathi, then it won't recognize, because we have not given the training like that. But if you give a training that it should also get the word which has been used in Marathi or Hindi, that will be recognized by the system, and that will be reflected there. That can be done.
Now again, another third aspect which is quite important here, decision making. We will talk later on that because that is something advanced stage as far as artificial intelligence is there. Because what we are trying to do, we are trying to mimic the situation just like the human being, but to take the decision, I think that will be advanced level, but that also will be a part of artificial intelligence. And again, whatever translations which are taking place, like from Marathi to Hindi, from Hindi to English, and all this has also been taken care by this artificial intelligence, and that's why we can see that successfully that has also been applied. So you'll find that the simulation of the human intelligence process by computers is successfully done. And this process includes acquiring information, developing rules for using the information, and drawing certain approximate or definite conclusion, and then there is a self-correction. So basic understanding is that just simulation of the human intelligence by using a computer is not the artificial intelligence. We'll find that you need to give certain information and the machines will acquire this information, which would be helpful to improve the outcome, so that there will be a developing rules for using the information. And then these rules would be used to draw the approximate as well as conclusion, proper conclusion, so that there would be a self-correction. And that's why whatever I have explained the figure, like a robot figure, you will find that in the every step you will find that there is a refinement which has been taken place. And the input would be given unless we are not expecting the result just like the human being. Now, what type of input we are talking about? That is the important question. And you must have heard that along with the artificial intelligence, you will find that there are other terms which has been continuously bombarded. If you see any literature, if you see any topic, you will find that there will be a machine learning, there will be a deep learning, and there is artificial intelligence. These words, three words are used there. So basically, these three words, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, are part of artificial intelligence. In a broad sense, actually this covers artificial intelligence. As we have clearly defined, artificial intelligence is nothing but the science of getting machines to mimic the behavior of the human. That is what we have understood. What happens in machine learning, because we are also going to use machine learning, this word, as well as deep learning also. As far as machine learning word is there, actually it is nothing but subset of artificial intelligence. This is a part of artificial intelligence that focuses on getting the machines to make the decisions by feeding the data. That is what actually I was talking, because we need to take a precaution that whatever information we are giving, by using this information, the machine has to take certain decisions, and these decisions would be taken on the basis of machine learning inputs. Now, as far as this data learning is there, again, this is another third aspect which is covered there in the artificial intelligence. It is subset of machine learning that uses the concept of neural network to solve the complex problems. Because whatever complex problem is there, that has to be simplified, and then once this is simplified, then this would be solved with the help of concept of the neural networking, and that is nothing but deep learning. In fact, this deep learning is also applied along with the machine learning. So this artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, all these terminologies are interlinked with each other. There is nothing separate. So all are interlinked, and these interlinked terminologies are providing certain inputs. These inputs, whatever inputs I'm talking about, that we are giving inputs to the machine, we are giving inputs to the these non-living entity, that is nothing but algorithm. And that is what actually this machine learning as well as deep learning databases or the deep learning intelligence or that has been provided to the machine. So basically you need to understand that there are certain algorithms which are playing important role so that data driven problems which are already defined that can be solved, so that we will try to mimic the action just like the human being that has been done. Now consider that object detection. Now object would be identified, it would be captured, and to capture that identity, you will find that there is certain algorithm which is playing important role. Now you need to give repetitive information to the machine or to the computer so that it will come to know that what type of object is getting detected. There will be a different type of databases which would be provided to it. And then as per the size and shape, at a micro level, it will try to calculate by using the algorithm which has been applied there. And in the form of object detection, it will conclude that what type of object is there in front of that machine that would be getting detected. But then there will be another things which would be that natural language processing that can be done. Again, the data would be provided in the form of various algorithms. So along with object detection, natural language processing, there would be expert system just like the computers which will be connected with each other, and definitely robotics also. That will be an important application of this artificial intelligence. So as far as artificial intelligence is there, this can be again divided into three parts. If you see the literature, you'll find that there will be different aspects, but I'm trying to put this concept into a simplified manner so that as a pharmacist, we should understand. Because I'm not expecting, or nobody will expect from us that we should come up with certain algorithm, certain language, which would be written there so that we will solve the problem. No. What is expected from us that we should understand what and in what way, as well as how this artificial intelligence would be applied. So that's why if you see the different types, you will find that a simple classification can be done, that there would be a narrow intelligence artificial would be there. Then there would be a general intelligence would be there, and there would be a super intelligence would be there. These three aspects are there. Now, as far as super intelligence are there, you must have known that who is the owner, the CEO of the Tesla. He was also having different opinions that it won't be too much logical to have a super intelligence. That means if machines become too much intelligent than the human being, then there will be havoc, and that would be the case. So that's why this should be regularized. So basically, whatever applications we are going to see, that would be from the artificial narrow intelligence would be there. Either that part would be utilized, or there would be general intelligence which would be utilized. And this would be a right now present situation in 1920. This artificial super intelligence is considered to be just imagination now. Like whatever you see in the film industry or film, that what will be the world in 2015? After 30 years, what will be the situation of this artificial intelligence? Totally, the life would be turned in 360 degrees Celsius, in 360 degree. And that is what actually it is expected, that super intelligence will play important role in coming 30 years. Right now, it has not been there. Now see, we are talking about 1950. And when the word actually the artificial intelligence word was coined, it was coined in 1956. We are talking about 2050. That means almost 100 years to the time span has been over. That means although we have been using this artificial intelligence, this has been developed in the last 10 to 15 years. Although the word was there in 1956. But why so much development was taking place in last 1 or 2 decades? The reason is there that initially the computers were not that much smart. The speed was not there with the computers, and that is the reason that this could not accelerate. But now this artificial intelligence with the narrow as well as general application, you can see that different type of applications can be obtained. Now, can we give the narrow intelligence example? Everybody must be knowing that Alexa. Alexa gives if you give a command, if you give any command, you will find that in our household items would be getting controlled with this artificial narrow intelligence, which is considered to be a weak AI, which involves applying artificial intelligence only to a specific task. Like suppose you have to switch on the light, switch off the light. That task can be done with the help of this weak artificial intelligence or narrow intelligence. Even driving a car is also considered as their intelligence. Just driving a car I'm talking about, not in a crowded places. because if you run on a manless road, then that would be one of the example of narrow intelligence. But if you want that the car has to be run in a public places where there is a traffic, then you require. Now, whatever Google search we are doing, Google is using this narrow artificial intelligence algorithms. Even Tesla autopilot feature which has been given, but definitely you will find that in the no man's land, we can see if there is a empty road and then you are giving the program to the car, and then car would reach to a particular destination. Because you must have heard that there are certain accidents which was reported there with the Tesla also, but now there are new versions which has been there that the same can be run on in the traffic also. Then you can see that if you keep your mobile on, where there is a face verification is there, like which is there in the Apple also, in iPhone, you will find that here also there is an algorithm which has been used as a narrow or weak artificial intelligence. Now, when there is a ability to perform any intellectual task by the machines, which has been done by the human being, where we need to apply your brain, and there actually you require the strong AI. Just like playing a chess, that is a requirement of. Now you can see that there is an artificial intelligence where capabilities of the computers will surpass the human. I think that is the future which everybody is expecting, that by 2050 this would be there. But as I told you that this we are expecting only where in the films right now there is no existence, but definitely there will be a future. Now coming to this, already we have seen that yes, artificial intelligence, they have shown their existence. We are using different appliances, and we have seen that there are certain classifications which has been done, that what kind of activities this are by using this artificial intelligence has been done. This has been helped. There will be other applications. You can see that like Twitter, you must have heard that Twitter has blocked a particular account. If you write some hate speech, you will find that Twitter will block your account. Now lakhs of people are doing these things. Now there is no human being which is doing this type of activity, but actually there is an algorithm which has been created, which is without intervention of the human being, actually they are able to identify the hate speech that by using the different words, and they are blocking, they are taking the decisions by using this application AI. Now another for medical diagnosis, this has been IBM with the IBM Watson. Actually they are using this AI. And then there is another, you must have heard about Google Artificial Intelligence Eye Doctor, AI Doctor, Eye Doctor, because you will find that there are certain algorithms which will scan the retina, and with this scanning, they will come up with the diagnosis that whether there is a diabetic retinopathy is reported or not. Here, Google or technology is playing important role to identify, but not other. Again, whatever I have given you the example of this face recognition is there. Now another example I would like to mention here, like everybody is using Facebook, and if suppose your friend face or a picture has been uploaded, and you can have an option to tag your friend. How the system is identifying? Because there is a face recognition system which has been applied, or the algorithm which has been used by the Facebook, so that there will be option to tag the friend, and you will find that there would be a name which would be indicated for a particular person. Now, do you think that your face or the data which has been captured by the system has been given to the by the algorithm to the computer? That is not the case. The input was given in such a way that whenever there would be a different features which would appear, it will suggest that means a decision has been taken using the provided. There would be a n number of examples which we can see the example of Siri is there, Google Assistant is there, and there is a popular clip which is there with the launch of this Google Assistant. You must be knowing that there is a clip which talks about the booking of for the hair cutting, and there is a call which gives the conversation between the owner of the shop and the person who is booking for the hair cutting. Both the you can see that it is very difficult to identify who is a robot and who is the actual person. You can see that this much of advancement has been there. So a number of examples can be cited as far as this artificial intelligence is there. Now, there are certain companies which are coming. Can you see here? Walmart Lab is there, Microsoft is already there, Genpact is there, and other companies are there which are coming with the artificial intelligence. Now, already we know that yes, artificial intelligence is involving algorithms, and designing of this algorithm is a major challenging task, which will be helpful to develop and deploy various activities. So that's why actually this algorithm which has been applied in the drug discovery can also be clearly understood as well as applied. Now coming to our main topic, that how this artificial intelligence is helpful in drug discovery, and can we take certain decisions? Is there any example? Because already I have cited one example where by using artificial intelligence, you can see that a drug molecule can see the clinical trials and how this has been happened and how in what way actually we can apply in a different, that is what we need to understand right now. Now already we know that drug discovery is quite costly affair, and almost all advancements are there, but average you will find that almost 40 to 50 molecules are coming to the market every year. This is not updated data as far as 2022 is that, but average 37 to 40 molecules would be there, which can see the market. Otherwise, most of the drugs which are also successfully able to hit these clinical trials, but they are not able to satisfy all the stringent rules put forward by the FDA so that they will enter or see the ray of the hope to see the market. That cannot be possible. And that's why, and that this is a quite costly affair. And almost more $2.8 billion amount has to be spent. If you calculate it, you will find that almost 250 crores into 71, because at the current rate you can see how much difficult it is to develop a new molecule. And that's why actually everybody is talking about AI, everybody is talking, because there are certain time period where new terminologies are used. I'm coming to that also, that how it is possible, as well as is it really practical to apply all the things or not. So as far as drug discovery is there, we have seen that about 14 years time span is required, and cost is almost $2.8 billion is expected. Now, in today's date, if you see last couple of decades, the data which has been generated is too much. As far as in vitro biochemical assays are there, in vivo assays are there, as well as clinical trials data is there. Too much data is generated. The problem is that can we handle this data in a systematic way so that we can take a proper decision, so that we can come up with certain molecules which can be successfully entered into clinical trials. And that is the question, that whatever data which is available, is it a valuable source for learning and understanding the success as well as failure of the compounds? Yes, it can be done. So where problem arises, that also we are going to understand, but definitely we will try to understand that how this data would be generated and how it can be helpful to create certain algorithms so that we will take fast decisions, and these decisions will not be a failure as far as screening the compounds are there. So whatever data we are talking about, from where this data is coming? Actually, this data is coming that you can see that as far as chemical space is there, plenty of compounds has been reported for a particular disease. Now, out of that, only few compounds could see the market. That means rest of the compounds are there, but it has not been exploited for other purposes also. The chemical space is day by day increasing. Can we convert this data into a systematic manner so that it will be helpful to predict the future drug candidates in the drug discovery? And that is actually acquiring the knowledge is important. And this knowledge can be acquired with the help of various machine learning hypotheses. This hypothesis would be generated by using various algorithms. Now, we will be talking about molecular modeling techniques also. Whether all these are outdated? No, these are not outdated, because we were also talking about the various hypotheses. So that means these algorithms are helpful to generate various hypotheses which can be used by using this machine learning method, and this can be or there is a deep learning methods also, and this can be successfully applied different purposes. And here we are talking about drug discovery, that how this can be helpful to implement in the increasing success rate of the molecules. Now, I was talking about database which has been available. Now, you will be surprised to know that the plenty of data which has been available, which is available in a systematic way. I will give a name of the certain data, PubChem. Then there is a PDB data is also there. As far as small molecules are there, you will find that there is a super drug 2 is there. There is a drug central. And you will find that there is a specific database which is available, which is considered to be a withdrawn database, where actually discontinued drugs are put there. And there is a web database for measuring the binding affinities of the proteins is also considered. There is binding DB is there for the drug targets with the small molecules. The database is also available. Then chemical database for drug-like molecules is there. And then everybody is aware about the zinc database. Approximately 35 million commercially purchasable compounds are available. But problem is that whatever data we are using, because I'm telling you that every time this machine learning, artificial intelligence, we require to give certain inputs to the machine. And this machine inputs should be in the form of algorithms. These algorithms should give certain inputs which are really the right input. If we are playing with the wrong input, then there would be a problem. The thing is that whatever database is there, this database can be used many times, and repeatedly whatever database we are using, whether this is a pure database, whether this is optimized database, that is the question which has been there. Let's consider, I'm talking about one particular class of the compounds or particular compound. From the database, if I take a compound and if I see the structure, many times this happens, there is no bond order which has been maintained properly. So manually I need to maintain the bond order. Many times this happens that instead of double bond, there is a triple bond. And if we put instead of double bond, a triple bond, the chemical properties would be getting changed. And that is the problem, that whatever database we are handling, this database, whether we are handling in a systematic way or not, and that's why actually there was a problem up till now, that we were handling the database, but this database was not successfully handled, because whatever structure we are talking about, this structure may not be used in a proper way. I have seen there are certain formulation scientists, we are working for the formulation, and they are not looking for the structure of the compound. They are least bothered for that, because they surely think about it that whatever structure, whatever compound has been taken, and as far as computational data is dealing of the computational data is there, whatever input of the structure is there, if we are giving a wrong structure, if let's consider there are certain compounds where there is a tautomerism which is playing important role, there are different tautomers which are available. Are we taking a compound with a proper tautomer which is stable? That is one question. But still there are certain algorithms which will be developed which will take care of these small errors where human intervention cannot be possible. Like suppose individually I cannot go and check zinc database for 35 million commercially purchasable compound manually, and then whatever data is there, I cannot consider this is 100% right data. So that's why we need to consider each and every minute thing while designing the algorithm. That is what it has been taken care. So how these machine learning methods do? So they are applying, there are two types of these machine learning methods. Again, I'm not going in detail as far as mathematical part is there, because that is not our purpose right now. Our purpose is just to understand the application part and to think about can we apply successfully or not. There will be unsupervised and there will be a supervised data. As far as unsupervised methods are there, they use actually different clusters of the molecules. And these clusters would be based on the chemical similarity. They will compare the chemical moieties with each other, and then they will come up with the output in the form of cluster molecules. So you will find that since data is too large, the quicker clustering methods are used, repurposing as well as off target prediction, because already whatever known compounds are there, and that's why this for this compound this unsupervised data can be applied. But in a real drug discovery, we need to consider where there is supervised molecular these machine learning models need to be generated with the proper hypothesis, where they are generating the models for such a data where there is experimental activity has been provided there. Now, again, we need to extrapolate that whatever artificial intelligence we are talking about, this is, although we are talking about something high-pi thing, but we need to consider that we are not doing any high-pi thing. We are just talking about the simple thing which we used in the QSR as well as in different type of tools which has been used with the simple algorithms. But whether these algorithms are fast enough to identify the problem and to give the right data, that is important. That's why we are considering that this is here artificial intelligence is playing important role. So you will find that these models where there is experimental activity has been considered for a different compounds, this data would be used for predicting the model, for the predicting the quantitative as well as qualitative data based on the training set. And this training data set is quite important. Let's, while discussing with the students, I always give the example what is the hopeless model, what is the super model. Let's consider there is a group of students which are sitting in front of us, and we need to generate a model where I can predict the ability of the students as far as intelligence level is there. And I'm taking the data from everybody that what is the height of the student. And on the basis of height, I'm trying to predict the intelligence level of the students. Do you think that this would give a right hypothesis to give the right results? No, definitely not. It is not possible. So what we need to consider, we need to consider training data of their at least last year examination score. And on the basis of this score, we can predict that whether the student is intelligent or not. At least it makes sense. So that's why we are considering that there would be a hopeless model, there would be a hopeful model. These two things can be that what kind of training set we are using. The same thing is happening here actually in the qualitative and quantitative prediction. There would be a model which would be generated, whatever inputs you are giving, 100% there would be a model. But whether there would be a reliable model, that is a question mark, and that has to be solved. So generating a model for each type of diseases when applied will classify the unexplored data more precisely to identify the new hits. And that is actually what this machine learning machines can done. So as far as the predictive applications with the molecular modeling is there, we can consider that yes, it can accelerate the drug discovery process from hit identification to lead optimization. That is what we did since last 1 or 2 decades. We have been doing this. And the supervised learning methods will have a major role to identify the druggable compounds based on the ADMET, because we are trying to identify the problem where individually it was not possible to identify the problem. That's why it is very much possible to have building a highly predictive model which will be helpful to identify a drug-like compound for different diseases that can be done. Now I was talking about that what type of input we are giving. Let's consider we are considering a simple structure. There would be a quantum mechanical properties, and I think Dr. Bhatia was mentioning in the inaugural program that there are quantum mechanical properties. Still, it is not possible for everybody to use these quantum mechanical properties, because let's consider I'm talking about a simple molecule like hydrogen. There is one electron which is playing important role because only one electron is there. But can you imagine the structure of a drug where n number of molecules, n number of atoms are connected with each other, and then how many number of electrons which are involved? Now we need to consider, because this quantum mechanical property is considering the electronic properties, and each electron will interfere with other electron, and for that we required highly sophisticated algorithm which will consider the existence of each and every electron and what type of effect of this individual electron is doing with the other electrons while they are moving. That property has to be considered, then only we can get the right input as far as model development is considered. Then whatever 2D structures are there, they are not enough actually 2D structures. We need to consider 3D descriptors, because if you are considering a structure in the space, you will find that all the aspects will be taken care. So that's why only 2D descriptors won't give 100% information to you. You need to consider 3D. Now you must be knowing that there is a 4D, 5D, 6D, ND. But generally, we do not believe more than that, but because more than 3D, because generally there are additional parameter which has been considered as far as 4D, 5D, NDs descriptors are there. So we'll find that there would be a molecular pattern of the training sets which has been used to generate the machine learning models by using these 2D and 3D descriptors. If we are giving right type kind of inputs to this machine learning hypothesis, then I think there would be a right kind of work which would be done. Now, we will see that how this has been helpful, whatever algorithm I'm talking about, whatever refined mathematical calculations which are there, that has been applied in a systematic way by the this decision making as well as drug discovery is there. Now you can see that those who are interested to have more details as far as this artificial intelligence which has been applied in the healthcare as well as machine learning in the different. Yes.
Hello, Prashant sir. Your screen
Yes.
is not visible. Screen is not visible. You share it again. I think something is problem there.
Just right now there was a problem, or it was there since
Right now, just right
Okay,
now,
okay.
just right now. Okay.
Now can you see?
Yes, yes.
Okay, no problem. So those who are interested to have a detailed understanding, you can use the review which has been there in the drug discovery today in 2019. You can see that this artificial intelligence can have a application in the healthcare, starting from the research, then drug discovery, virtual assistants, then hospital management, mental health, surgery, lifestyle, digital health monitoring, diagnosis. And you will find that again machine learning applications has been covered there under this artificial intelligence, where you can find that there is a supervised learning, there is unsupervised learning, and you will find that there is a even third aspects which I didn't discuss is nothing but reinforcement learning is there. Basically, as far as our drug discovery program is there, here you will find that starting from the drug disease diagnosis, this machine learning can be applied. Here you will find that simply a data analysis method that automates analytical model building using different algorithms with the iteratively learned data. That means you will find that data has to be given, it has to be refined, and then there will be a progress unless there is no satisfactory acceptance. Then only it can be applied. Again, it has been successfully applied in the drug efficacy as well as admit predictions also. Then disease subtype type discovery has also been done with the help of machine learning. Disease target discovery has also been done, and de novo drug designing, like where you are talking about novel compounds which has been designed there, that can be done. And you will find that deep learning aspects has also been used. Again, in different stages, this has been mentioned there in drug discovery, which is there. So whatever chemical space I was talking about, which is very difficult to handle, I would like to explain another aspects here, that already I have mentioned that computational power is the only reason why almost last 10 years data which has been there, which we could not see since last 50 to 60 years. If you see the chemical space, or if you see the molecules which are available right now, it is estimated to be in order to 10 raised to 60 molecules, which is quite huge data. And that's why actually there will be a drug development process which would be revolutionary because of this availability of the chemical space. I would like to tell another aspects, like we are talking about the natural drugs. Now we see that from the marine source, the natural drugs which has been used, I think only 3 to 5% data has been exploited. If you see the different molecules or the scaffolds, which we have never seen the different type of scaffolds, this type of scaffolds are there in the nature as far as this marine source is there. We can't even define, we can't even think about the chemical space which is available in the nature, which has not been exploited. Almost I would say 95% we are not able to exploit, because there is a complicated structures which has been mentioned there, and even it is very difficult to understand that complicated thing. Still it has not been possible to decode all the aspects which has been there. And I think still much more time is required, still advancement is required to have the chemical space which can be properly, because see, whenever you are talking about the algorithms, this algorithm has to be given with the input as far as chemical space is there, and this input has to be in 100%. If we are giving 100% input in a right manner, I think there is a more probability to have a more prediction, and then there will be more probability to have new molecules which will be developed. So that's why you will find that there will be a AI which can be used to predict the different aspects. again, as far as synthetic chemists are there, a problem is that just like right now I mentioned about the natural source, where you can see different scabbulls. Can we think about synthetic feasibility? No, it is not possible. But is it possible with the AI? Yes, it is possible. How? Because what we can do to predict the feasible synthetics to routes. Let's consider in the literature. I must give example that during my MPharm, I was doing my literature survey in NCL. There was a chemical abstract book. Almost it took 2 to 3 months for one moiety to find out, and even I was not sure about that whether whatever information, because I used to use this IUPAC name or number of carbons or molecular formula that was used there to identify the similar type of compounds, and then we used to do that. Now, within just 5 to 10 years, this was useless exercise because everything was available in a soft copy. But now, yes, whatever literature, I am coming to that point that per 30 seconds, a new research article is getting published. As far as PubMed is there, per 30 seconds. That means whatever we are talking about within 1 year, you can imagine how much data has been generated there. Now, as far as specific case of the synthetic route is there, how many number of articles has been published, that data has not been compiled in a proper way. But if we give input of this all synthetic routes, then definitely it is possible to come up with the prediction of the feasible synthetic routes for the drug-like molecules. That can be done. Pharmacological properties can be predicted. Protein characteristics can have explained in a better way. Then there will be a drug combination and drug target association, which can be explained in a very lucid manner, in a right manner, and then there will be a drug repurposing also. I will give you the example of drug repurposing also, that how this has been successfully done. So there is always scope to have an identification of new pathway as well as targets by using this information. And then as far as personalized medicine is there, based on the omics marker, actually there would be a connection which can be found out between drug and disease with the help of input of this. Now, as far as synthetic compounds are there, you will find that for oral viability, orally active compounds, drug-like molecules we are applying, because I was telling you that we are using different type of filters, and there would be like, suppose we need to screen the database of suppose 100 compounds, and we can use simple filters, like suppose we use Lipinski's rule of 5. I hope everybody must be knowing Lipinski's rule of 5. That drug-like molecules should have a molecular weight less than 500 Dalton. Then hydrogen bond donor should be less than 5. Hydrogen bond acceptor should not be more than 10. And then log P value should be less than 5. Now all these parameters are in the range of 5. Although this rule is 5, there are no 5 parameters, but only 4 parameters are there. But all the parameters are in the range of 5 or multiple of the 5. That has been considered here. But suppose if a compound is having molecular weight 501, and this compound has not been considered for screening, there could be a case that this molecule, which was having a molecular weight of 501, would be a biologically active compound, but we have missed the important information because we have applied this filter. And that is the problem actually when we are considering. So that's why we need to have very precise algorithm which will take care all the, even this Lipinski's rule of 5, again there will be different rules. More stringent rule can be applied. Like suppose I am not accepting this rule 5. I need to go for the constant rule. So what I will do, I will use Lipinski's rule of 3. That means molecular weight should not be more than 300. Hydrogen bond donor should not be 3. Hydrogen bond acceptor should not be more than like 6 or in the range of that. And then log P value should not be more than 3. Then again there will be a problem that if it is having the certain molecule which is having more than 3 log P value, there could be information which could be missed. So that's why there are, I think right now we are not able to predict in a certain. Then for the synthetic drug-like molecules, you can see that retrosynthesis can be done. Now what is done here, you can find that we can just go ahead with the fragmentation pattern, and then we can see that how these fragments would be connected with each other, so that again with the help of all the literature which will be compiled, if we can come to know that if suppose this is a target molecule, this has to be synthesized, there will be n number of synthetic processes which will be available, again which is giving more yield, which is synthetically feasible, what type of temperature has to be maintained, and all these aspects will be taken care, so that we can combine all this data so that this retrosynthesis can be. Again, this is a difficult task for us right now, but definitely from picking up the literature from a particular literature, again by using different hypotheses, that can be done. Now let's see what are the different platforms this is quite interesting actually. We have been talking about various artificial intelligence algorithms, but there are certain platforms which are developed particularly for AI, and these are nothing but like first is 3N MCTS is there. Now what this platform is doing, this is most promising building block, and it selects only well-known reaction for the synthesis of the target compound. That is what actually I was talking about. Like suppose all the literature which has been considered there, and they have come up with the new algorithm, and this algorithm is used so that whatever compound is there, this has to be synthesized. They will suggest you that this is the different reactions which are possible for the synthesis of this target compound. And this is proven to be very much faster and better than the traditional computer-assisted retrosynthetic system, because we have been discussing in the MPharm as well as for the PhD that there are retrosynthetic methods which can be applied. But if you use this AI platform 3N MCTS, you will find that there is a fraction of a second you can get different type of options which will be available, and definitely it will be synthetically feasible. Then there's a deep tox is there. Again, this is also used as a platform where we can predict on and off target effects, as well as in vivo safety profile can also be predicted. There is no need to synthesize the compounds, but definitely before that we can go ahead with the safety profile, and we can use this deep tox. And there is a Proctor is there which predict the probability of toxicity in clinical trials. This can be also used for a set of the compounds which can be made available before synthesis, so that we can use. Then there is a Spider. This is again advanced natural products for the drug discovery. This is alternative to the chemoproteomics. Now what it does actually, this predicts the molecular target of the clinical stage. Now this has been predicted actually for a compound called as beta-lacacon, which is nothing but a natural naphthaquinone having anti-tumor activity, anti-cancer activity has been proved. Actually, this platform Spider has predicted that this beta-lacacon is an allosteric reversible modulator of this 5-LO, lipoxygenase, and this has been validated by using functional assay. So that means yes, there are certain results and that can be applied. Then there is a RASAR is there, where another tool where it can use as a read across structure activity relationship, where it links various molecular structures to the toxic properties of the compound by mining the large database of the chemicals, where we can predict accurately we can predict the toxicity of unknown compounds. That can be done. Then there is a AIQR is also there. This has been recently has been applied as a mobile application to measure the medication, which can be there in the phase 2 trial of the subject suffering from the schizophrenia, that has been successfully used to recognize the disease in the patients. And even it can be helped to identify the gene target and predict the effect of the molecule which has been designed, as well as to design the on as well as off target effects are there. Now another example is repurposing of the drug, because what is important thing is for us repurposing is there, because if you see the FDA, the concept of applying existing therapeutic to a new disease is really popular, because new drug is qualified to go directly to the phase 2 clinical trials. There is no need for phase 1. Although this has been indicated for the different indications, but still you can skip up to phase 1 and directly you can enter into phase 2 and you can go for the toxicology testing again. So that's why AI can be used for the repurposing. That means whatever existing drugs are available, this data set can be used to have a fewer side effects, to predict the compound which is having fewer side effects. That can be done. And actually you need to train the different algorithms to differentiate between cardiotoxic as well as non-cardiotoxic drugs, as well as using different gene expression data from the cells which is incubated with the different drugs. That can be done, and that has been actually implemented there. The success story of this remdesivir, you must be knowing. Actually, for the corona, COVID-19, the remdesivir is successfully used. In fact, this was the drug which has been patented by the Gilead. The Gilead actually was using this drug for the Ebola, but this has been successfully repurposed for the corona-19. They entered into phase 2 and they have proven the safety, and it was allowed to use. Even problem with the Gilead was that they were not able to give this medication, although they were not claiming, although this is a patented compound, but they were not claiming for the royalty, but they were not capable to supply this remdesivir to world. And in fact, India has played an important role. That's why in India, you will find this like Hetero, Cipla, they have been given license to manufacture it and to sell it. But definitely this type of technique, repurposing of the drug, can be applied in a systematic way by using this AI to get the new drugs already what the drug has been reported for some other diseases also that can be. Then there is a polypharmacology term, which you must be knowing that one disease, multiple targets is there. Actually, you will find that one disease, multiple target, this is getting dominates over the one disease, one target, because that is always important. If you are targeting multiple targets, then there will be a deeper understanding of the pathological process, and disease at the molecular level is required, and that can be done in the AI. So AI is applicable in polypharmacology also. So you will find that how this can be done by using, again, whatever already I have mentioned, different databases like Zinc, PubChem. All these are commercially as well as some publicly available, freely available database. Even protein data bank can be used for the, because you are having a target, you know. But again, problem is that whether this is a raw data which is there or whether it is a refined data which is there. So consider. Now, in my talk, actually, I mentioned that there is no major pharma companies which are coming to for the development of new drugs. Latest development is there, because already we have seen majority of the companies like Roche, Merck, they have started drug discovery and they are doing, but very few companies are coming forward for the drug discovery. Now, what is happening? There is a new trend that new startups are coming. There are some examples, like one of my friend who was working in Stanford, and he got opportunity to work for 3 years, and then his boss and himself, he started his own company, and this Bill Gates Foundation, they have funded this group so that they can come up with the new molecules, and these new molecules can be sold to the Merck as well as Roche or big companies. Now, problem is that big companies, they are not sure about the outcome, so that's why they don't want to invest in that, and their strategy is now that they are inventing new strategy that whatever drug molecules which has been developed by the small entities or small groups which is there in the clinical trial, they will pick up that molecule as it is, and then they will develop further. And even the small entities, they are interested only to develop molecule because they don't have that much of budget to take over to completely go for the clinical trials. So that's why this is the problem for the small company, that they cannot go for the clinical trials. But big companies, yes, they are doing like this type of activities. Now they have also started with the partnership with the AI companies. So you can see that companies which has been started in 2018, they are doing excellent thing. Those companies which has been started in 2016, like 4 or 5 years old company, they are doing excellent thing. So you'll find that DeepMind Technologies, this has been developed by the Google. They have collaborated with this Royal Free London NHS Foundation Trust to assist in the management of acute kidney injury. Then you will find that there will be another projects which has been collaborated with the different collaborators like Roche, Merck, then Merck and Biogen. Then there is another Atomwise is there. You must be knowing that there is a platform which has been used in the healthcare, and this is the Atomwise AI is a pioneer in the healthcare as far as artificial intelligence is there. This is the company which has developed the first deep learning technology for identification of small novel molecules. And why this has been popular? Because they are known for its extraordinary speed, accuracy, and diversity in the structural chemistry using data learning. Actually, that is more important thing. And they have assisted in the invention of new potential medicines for almost more than 30 now targets. And they are working with top institutes such as Harvard, Stanford University, as well as different pharma companies. They are working. They are using, like initially I have given one example, that one molecule which has been used, which is there in the clinical trial. So this company is called as Exscientia, British company actually. You will find that they have used human analysis of the extremely complicated data set of high content of the phenotypic drug discovery. And they have outperformed because of the use of this AI. Then you will find that there will be a Numerata is there, where they are focusing on the ligand chemistry, ADMET as well as combinatorial chemistry. And then you will find that there will be again, this is excellent article. Those who are interested, you can go ahead. That there will be collaborators which has been here in the central. There are different pharma companies. I mentioned that whatever big companies are there, Biogen, Roche, GSK, Teva is there, Pfizer is there, Novartis is there, and they have come up with the collaboration with the these artificial intelligence platform-based companies, which are a small one, and they are coming with the new discoveries. Even here you can see the IBM Watson Health. A lot of companies, Numerata is there, AIQR is there. Then another important aspects actually I would like to explain here. I was talking about literature which has been generated. You will find that there is a research collaboration between pharmaceutical giant called as Fiber and this IBM's Watson actually for drug discovery. What they are doing, they are tackling this immuno-oncology, which was recently announced and it became one of the most covered news story of AI application in biosector. You'll find that what they have done, they have included the supercomputer, which is using this AI-driven supercomputer for accelerating analysis and test of the hypothesis by the research at the Pfizer using massive volumes of disparate data sources. Now you will find that 30 million sources of laboratory databases which are there. Again, thing is that there are certain databases which are not free to use, which are not open. There are certain secret databases which has been kept, like pharma companies, they never disclose their database. So that's why whatever database they are having, this was not disclosed for the other people, but they are using this with the collaboration with this IBM Watson, and this 30 million source of the laboratory data has been used there. Then again, you will find that as well, I was telling you that the scientific paper which was published in every 30 seconds, almost 10,000 updates are there PubMed every day. So there has to be certain meaningful insights about the drug candidate where AI-based algorithm can be possible. And you will find that there is a Benevolent AI, this UK-based platform, data mining companies there which are used. Then you can go through the various opening about what next, and there are certain my personal views I will put at the last. There are certain no man's drug designer, computer chemist, all this technology, all this nomenclature has been used since last 15-20 years, and we have been talking about autonomous laboratories iterate through design, make, test, analyze, go ahead for the drug discovery without direct human interventions. And whatever database, chemical database it has been used to identify drug targets as well as for identifying the good molecules, you'll find that all these can be possible with the help of this AI. But should we go and consider that AI will give you the drug molecules as a faster and at a faster level and more in number? I don't think it is a realistic. It would be expecting. I remember that I have seen in JMC certain papers only on the interpretation of NMR in 1994. You can see in 80s, 84. But again, in molecular modeling, JMC was possible with the help of only with the molecular modeling tools. But now it is not possible. You need to have a proof of concept. You need to prove that whatever techniques we are using and that has been giving results. So that's why you need to go for the synthesis and you need to prove that yes, these molecules are showing the particular activity in particular. Then only it is possible. So that means day by day, technology is getting changed and the expectations are there from the technology, but I don't think we should not be unrealistic with that. So you will find that often new approaches to the drug discovery would be there, and there would be like combinatorial chemistry was hyped. Like, see, we can have a library of the compounds and we can go ahead with that. But again, are we getting certain results which were expected with the combinatorial chemistry? Not up to that mark. So you will find that again there would be a question that who's owner of this IP as far as AI drug discovery is there. You will find that there are certain articles which have been mentioned there. As far as Japanese rule is there, even somewhat extent it has been extended to the US also, that they have mentioned that as far as IP issue is there with the drug AI used or AI based drug discovery, there will be two aspects, like subjective, it will be objective. As far as subjective issues are there, that who is the inventor of this drug discovery process or whatever discovered drug is there, then in that case actually there would be a problem that you cannot claim alone that this is my invention. So that's why as per the rules which has been mentioned in the Japan as well as in the US, that it goes to the public domain. That means whatever output is there, that output would be a property of the public. And again, it would be objective. As far as objective side is there, it is particularly problem lies in what is patentable subject matter actually accordingly. So we were starting with the when we started with the using the computer and telling that molecular modeling was used, that we were having a question in our mind whether we should believe it on computer or not. But again, after 5 to 10 years, we started believing yes. But definitely, we are not thinking in that way that yes, computer will only give the drug molecules. But definitely, it will definitely helpful to take the decision, and we can come up, we can accelerate that decision. Again, this is my personal opinion that we are going to the basics, that we were talking about molecular modeling, we were talking about the QSR, and in fact here also we were using some algorithms. But problem was that we were playing with the wrong algorithm. We are not in a position to say that these algorithms were wrong, but definitely these algorithms were not with 100% right truth, because there would be, let's consider data for a QSR study. Instead of writing an nm nanomole, I'm writing in a micromole. If it is a 1 nanomole, that means most potent compound is there, and I'm writing a micromole. This is human error. So this human error is given an input, and then whatever output we are expecting, that will be a problem. But if we use the precise algorithm where there should not be error, then I think there is accuracy of the data is there, and there is a chances. So that's why we are going to the basics, but with a refined way. That has been happened here. Here also you will find that we were using this quantum mechanics, molecular mechanics, but quantum mechanics used to take almost years to complete the minimization of the simple compound, even days. But now it can be with the supercomputer system, it can be possible. And we have been using this molecular mechanics where we are not considering the existence of the electron. Successfully, we can't say, but definitely to get certain conclusions. So again, in the homology modeling also, what we were using the target protein, the sequence which was known, and we were trying to compare with the unknown, and accordingly we were trying to modeling the structure of the Curie atom, sorry, not atom, but Curie structure or homology modeling. Then again, there will be a problem with the molecular docking. Molecular docking problem is that let's consider, as far as virtual screening is there, we have docked the compound and we are saying that whatever -9 score is there, we will keep the standard value -9. Those compounds which are showing -9 value or more than that, we will keep, and we will proceed these molecules. But again, whatever score is there, right now there is a conclusion that these docking scores are not reliable at all. What is important, that unit of the decision, and on the basis of how the interaction is there, that will be helpful. But this docking score are not the deciding factor at all, because you know that there will be different scores, different capability of these different scores will be there. Again, in the QSR also, we are using different physical or chemical properties, and we are correlating with the viral activities. Whatever descriptors we are using, these descriptors has been calculated in right way or wrong way. That is again a problem. In the virtual screening also, like we are using a filter of docking first, but again, whatever input we are giving, there only we are missing the most potent compound. Whatever output, virtual screening output is there, that cannot be a logical one. So that's why at initial level only, by using this AI, if we could give the guarantee that whatever input of the data is there in a right way or precise way, we are able to predict that yes, whatever information is given, this is a quality information which has been provided, then we can go ahead with that. So again, you will find that there is a lot of data which has been generated in the PDB. This PDB structure, we need to refine it, because major of time, whenever people they are using for the docking purpose, as per structures, we are going for the protein purification. This protein purification, if you are not doing in a proper way, then again there will be a problem. So that's why this again problem has to be sorted out at early stage, and that's why even this database, which is each and I would say each and every structure, because more than 90,000 structures are there, and these structures, in fact, this has been crossed 1,65,000. It was there. It has not been, but 1 lakh. It must be 1,70,000 structure as far as PDB structures are there. But I would say this is the individual problem, and this individual problem has to be taken care by this AI, and then only. And I think people are taking it. Now we are just giving this correlation. So I would say whatever this AI is there, which it was started with the simple equation of predicting, which is nothing but y equal to mx plus c. We are going in an advanced stage where the different algorithms which will take care of the problems and they will come up with the solution. So although we were using this virtual screening protocol by using different filters, this filter are improved now. And the same techniques are used by using artificial intelligence so that the reliable hits are there, and so that we can expect that there will be a certain new molecules which can be expected from this artificial intelligence. And definitely we should not be overhyped about the expectation of this AI. There has to be certain results, because I would say that whatever models, whatever docking studies, whatever techniques which has been used, it has not been 100% foolproof, because unless we are not showing the synthesis of the compound and biological activity of the compound, we cannot predict that yes, whatever model was used was right or wrong. The same way here also, we need to go ahead with the actual proof of the concept, and then only we can say that whether there will be success or not. I hope I have given justice to the topic. Since this was the first lecture, that's why it was like overview. I have not detailed in mathematical equations, because I don't think there will be a different type of faculty members are there from the different fields. So that's why I have not touched upon the equation part which was involved in the algorithm. But the rest of the thing, I think I have conveyed the message very clearly. So this is what actually I wanted to tell you. Thank you very much. I hope if there are certain questions I can take, because 12:30 time was given. 12:30. Yes.
Yes, sir. There are questions from the participants. First question is from the Pratap sir, that whether the scientists have used any artificial intelligence or the machine learning in developing COVID medicine, that is in cracking genetic code of novel virus.
As far as latest information is there, which we know that there is no right now, because we can't. Yes, we can see that there are certain leads which can be identified, but we can't say this would be a drug, because if this drug would have been there, it would have been used right now. But definitely it is expected that by using repurposing concept, because even by using AI, the latest development is that it took almost 12 months to come with the molecule. And the COVID problem is since last December. So we are approaching toward December now, 12 months. So we can expect that there will be a new molecules which would be there, but it will be another 2 to 3 years span would be required to come in the market. If at all successfully, it could be done.
Okay, thank you, sir. And another question from the participant is that what is the significance of the drug repurposing?
Okay, significance of the repurposing is that the drug safety profile has been established, because generally in drug discovery, what we do, we go ahead with the preclinical test, then it enters into clinical, then the drug has to pass phase 1, and then it enters into phase 2. As far as this repurposing drugs is there, the drug has been proved its safety for a particular activity, and we are establishing the activity of drug for another purpose, and we need not to go for again establishing the phase 1. Directly it can enter into phase 2. And then we can go ahead with the phase 2 and phase 3. So that is the important. That's why you will find that remdesivir, why it could come as a drug which can be used in the COVID-19, because it was a repurposed drug which was showing activity against this Ebola virus. And since this molecule was already established as far as safety profile is there, so that's why they skipped phase 1 and they entered into phase 2, and then FDA has given the accelerated approval to the drug to be used. And I think the remdesivir is doing well. Even patients are giving. Right now also remdesivir is given.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question from the Feroz Tamboi sir is that, is any artificial intelligence system available for the traditional medicine? For the traditional medicine.
Yes. Actually, this artificial intelligence method can be applied to discover the new molecule. Now, the question which has been used is that whether it is in a traditional medicine. That means the question. I hope that what Madam is asking is whether optimization of the traditional medicine has been done or not. That is what it was asking. Yes, it can be done, or it must have been used. I'm not sure about whether it has been applied and what is the stage of that molecule, but definitely everywhere this can be used. Everywhere means like for those compounds which are synthetically feasible, those compounds which are already available in the chemical database, and those which are not available in the chemical database, for that also this can be applied. Like for the natural compounds also it can be applied.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other participants, if you are having any queries, you can raise your hand and you will be unmute. Any other questions or any other queries from the participants?
If at all you are having any query, you can write to me. My email ID is prashant_murumkar MURUMKAR@yahoo.com.
Ask them to unmute themselves.
I hope everything is clear.
Rajnikant, you can unmute yourself.
Good morning, Dr. Prashant sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation on artificial intelligence, how it is going to be helpful in the drug discovery process. Sir, you mentioned a point about the RASAR. So is the RASAR, how helpful it is, sir, in drug discovery?
Actually, this has already, I have mentioned you, because this is a platform. Now, as far as platform is used, this can be used in a different ways. Now, there could be a case like suppose I was talking about Numerat, then I was talking about Extensia, where they are using different type of platform. Now, as far as RASAR is there, this is read across structure activity relationship.
Yes.
Now, what it does, actually it links molecular structure and toxic properties of these compounds. And by mining a large database of chemicals, this RASAR has ability to predict the toxicity of unknown compounds. Because whatever aim of the compound, whatever objective of this person is that I need not to synthesize the compound, I need not to check in the animals, because unless I'm not checking in the animal, I won't consider, I won't get the information that whether it is toxic or not. Even you need to carry out in vitro also before that. But definitely before synthesizing it, this RASAR can be used, and this is one of the tool which will predict the toxicity of unknown compounds. Here they are using artificial intelligence so that you will find that there is a high success rate is there. Otherwise, there are certain prediction tools which are available. But here this RASAR is using AI tool, and that's why there is a high success rate for exact accuracy of the prediction of the toxicity of the unknown compound is there. So that's why this, yes.
Thank you.
Next, I think Ashish sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Audible, sir?
Yes,
Yes, audible.
Sir, very fantastic lecture, sir. Sir, recently, any data which have been obtained by the AI, is it 100% confirm with the in vivo activity of the any compounds?
Yes. It is 100% confirmed with the in vivo activity also, and that's why actually I was talking about, if you can see the compound which has been developed as a DSP-1181, which is used for the obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, this within 12 months, this could crack preclinical trials in the animals, and then it has entered into clinical trials, human being, and the safety has been established for that compound. Now the company which was actually pharma company, Japanese company was there, Sumitomo Nippon Pharma. They have established their agreement with the British startup company called as Extensia, and they have come up with the molecule called as this DSP-1181. If you go and find out, this has been completely developed by the artificial intelligence, and this is considered to be artificially intelligence created medicine. Even it is available in the news also. BBC News has taken a care, because it was jointly the press conference was there, and they have explained that how the obsessive compulsive disorder can be treated with a molecule called as DSP-1181, and how accelerated the process has been taken place, because generally it takes almost 5 years to get the trial complete if nothing goes wrong. So as far as a new chemical entity we need to establish, it takes almost 5 years to come to the clinical stage or phase 1. Again, there is a different phase of that compound. Again, it takes almost 10 years to establish all these clinical trials. But here, within 12 months, this DSP-1181 could do that. But problem is again here, whether it would be successfully passed phase 2 and phase, that is the challenge. And if it could successfully pass, I think this would be the first molecule which would be developed by the AI completely, and which would be established as a drug for the treatment which could see the market, and that could be a DSP-1181, which has been developed by the British startup Exsensia. That's why actually I was telling that no major pharma companies are coming for the drug discovery. There is a small group, startup companies are there. By using just computer algorithms, by writing the algorithms, they are coming and they are writing this. And the pharma company is trying with them. So they are interested to take up the molecule at stage 2, phase 2, or in the clinical trials, but they are not interested to invest before that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
I think there will be a excellent career for the startups also. Yes, some Ashish Bhomik was asking something. I think I can see he has raised the hand.
Yes, already I asked, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for addressing the queries, sir. And thank you for this wonderful presentation and your valuable time for explaining and giving a talk on the demystifying the role of the artificial intelligence in the drug discovery. Thank you, sir.
At the outset, actually, I would like to thanks Dr. Bhatia for inviting me. I'm thankful to all the staff members of the Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy. I'm thankful to principal, and I'm thankful to all the participants for listening my lecture patiently. Thank you.
Now, I would like to introduce you